Welcome to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
Have you had contact with extraterrestrials? Were they extraterrestrials? Why do people report so many different kinds? And I'll do the intro because Ben's scrambling to get our guest here. Greetings and welcome to the 857th edition of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. I'm Paul, and those out there questions are the result of our subject today, and we bring you a new guest with a wider view on a familiar subject, and we welcome your calls today. It's 401-766-1240 from anywhere, or email Paul at behindtheparanormal.com, or contact us by Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And we're pleased to welcome back a very popular guest co-host today, one of the world's foremost experts on the subject of extraterrestrial contact, and that's Kathleen Marden, coming to us via Skype today. Kathy, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back again.
And also coming to us via Skype, we hope, in a moment, is Sev Tok. Sev was born in Istanbul, Turkey, came to the United States as a little girl. She grew up in the Virginia, Washington, D.C. suburbs. Her parents introduced her to spirituality at an early age, and she began meditating in the 5th grade. That's even before me. She reports many paranormal experiences throughout her life, including multiple contacts with extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional life forms. Today, Sev describes her work as that of a soul purpose coach, and she has written 2 books. You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. I love that term. That title. And The Universe Speaks, talks to empower you. She believes that ETs are not to be feared, but have peaceful intentions. Her website, planetsev.com. And we hope to welcome her in a minute, but we do have Kathy with us. We got her? Oh, okay. Hey, Ben, you came through as always. Sev, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It gets my blood pressure pumping, I got to say.
Welcome to broadcasting, Dad.
Yes, yes. It's only been 13 years. And Kathy's going to start us off today. So, Kathy, take it away.
Well, hello, Sev, and welcome to the show.
Hi,
I've known you for a few years, and you visited my home twice. You even spent the weekend here with me once. Will you please tell the listeners the circumstances under which we met?
Sorry to interrupt, but could you both turn on your video, please?
Turn it on?
Yes, please.
Oh.
We do actually have.
There you go. Okay.
There we are.
Sorry to interrupt, Kathy. So go ahead, Seth.
Hi there, Kathy.
Hello.
Well, we met in 2018 because I was basically having an existential crisis. I woke up with 2 red X's on my butt, and that sent me into a tailspin. My entire reality flip-flopped, and I needed help. Along with the 2 red X's was a very conscious memory of being on a hospital-type bed where I was laying on my side, and my legs and my arms were paralyzed. I couldn't move. And I was in a dimly lit room, and I felt something standing behind me. And I could turn my head, and when I did, I came face to face with a gray standing right behind me, literally just a couple inches from my face. And it was doing something to my back. And we locked eyes, and we stared into each other's eyes for several seconds, and I was scared to death. And there was no telepathic communication, as there usually was whenever I had contact with the grays. This time there was no telepathic communication. I turned my head back around, and then I was completely, fully alert in my bedroom. So they put 1 X on me, which was shocking, and I tried to ignore it. And then 9 days later, they put the other X on the right cheek of my hiney, and I couldn't ignore that. So I declared that I needed help, but I didn't know who could help me. I didn't know. And it was the first time in my life that I was even asking for help, because I've had a lifetime of ET contact, and I just tried to ignore it. And so one day I just went to my computer and I told myself, I have to send the picture of these red X's on my hiney to somebody. And I heard in my head, MUFON. So I Googled MUFON, and there I saw Kathy's face, and I said to myself, she's the one, she's going to help me. So I sent her a picture of the X, and she responded right away. And she said, I've never seen an X like this. I'd love to talk to you. So we Skyped for about an hour and a half, and that phone call with Kathy changed my life. She validated everything for me. She made me realize that these are not dreams or imaginings. Well, actually, having a physical red X burned into both cheeks of my butt made me realize that these are not dreams. And from then on, since 2018, Kathy has been right there to help me. And she has a very, very special place in my heart. I just don't know how I would have coped without having someone like her to express my deepest, most personal feelings to. And that's how we met.
Thank you, Sev, for bringing back that memory. The memory that I have is of the feeling that you were very frightened and that you believed you might be having negative contact. But it appears that everything has changed. Can you give your listeners tips on having healthy, safe, and enlightening experiences with otherworldly beings?
Yes, you are absolutely right, Kathy. When I came to you, I was vibrating with a very, very high level of fear. Because back then I thought the Greys were evil and I thought they were out to hurt me. Not only hurt me, but to hurt all of mankind. And I thought that they were victimizing me. And the reason for that is because back then I was in the final stages of releasing my victimization vibration. For most of my life I played the victim beautifully. And I really wanted to release it, because I've gone through some 2 difficult marriages, and I realized the difficulty is not really within them, it was within me. So what was it within me that was attracting these kind of abusive people into my life? And I started this path of authenticity. It still is paramount for me to discover the real me, the true me, and to express my authenticity. And my higher self said, okay, if that's what you're going to do, then you're going to have to deal with this ET stuff. Because that to me was a huge barrier. And so I had to deal with it. And in processing that and losing my victimization vibration, I realized that the Greys were not out to hurt me. They're my partners in helping me realize that I am empowered. I am not a victim. And by giving me certain information, whether it be telepathically or energetically, they've been a huge help in me becoming happier and more fulfilled. So I stress with my clients that your energy really does all the work. We all each have our own personal field of energy, and the quality of our energy is determined by what we think about ourselves, what we think about others, what we think about the world. And we align with people and friends and lovers and places and situations with a similar frequency as ours. That is why I talk a lot, I write a lot, and I teach a lot about how to increase your personal vibration so you can align with people who have a higher frequency, so you can align with events that have higher frequencies. These type of higher frequency people and places and events are for your benefit. And I also help people connect to otherworldly beings, but there's a huge but. Just like you were saying, Kathy, there's a huge but here in that, the type of human being you align with on Earth is going to be similar to the type of otherworldly being you align with in the other realms. So that's why it's so important to really pay attention to your frequency. Who are you aligning with? Your reality is a very clear indicator of your personal belief system. So we can safely interact with otherworldly beings as long as we keep our vibration high and as long as we know that we are in control. The other being is not in control. We are in control. And in fact, in December, just a few months ago, I had an interesting incident in my bedroom with a men in black, with an astral men in black. One of my friends had come to visit me for about a week, and it was the first night that she was there. And into my bedroom comes this astral man in black, tall, a black shadow, black hat, everything that we would picture as a men in black to be. And it had a very, very strong energy, and that energy was coming towards me, and it felt like it wanted to capture my energy and just suck it up. And I told it, no, you have to go away. And it didn't want to. And I actually felt this energetic battle, kind of, for who was going to win. And I was determined to win. There was no way in heck that this man in black was allowed to be there. Absolutely not. This is my home. This is my energy. You cannot be here. So after a few seconds of that struggle, it finally left. But it was a struggle, I have to tell you. And if you're not used to this and if you don't know that you're in control, I can see how very easily you can succumb to that lower frequency vibration. Right, Kathy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You can.
Because I know you know people who have come in contact with those lower frequencies, and you have to fight sometimes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So is that the connection between ETs and consciousness?
Yes. It's all connected. Consciousness is a hot topic right now. It's the word that we hear a lot about. And just the expansion of our consciousness, in my opinion, is just expanding your belief about our wholeness, that we are more than just 3D. And as you start to realize and learn more about the parts of you that exist beyond 3D, that is the expansion of your consciousness and your awareness. And there are an infinite amount of beings that live in those other realms, on those other planes, in those other frequencies. So that's why ET contact, otherworldly contact, and consciousness is all connected, because these beings exist in other realms that maybe societally we haven't admitted to yet, or are afraid to admit to, or just don't totally understand yet. But we're all completely connected.
Okay, we're going to take a few questions from listeners that will bring us into the sort of the multiverse or parallel worlds theme that we often hit on the show. And Ben, I think that's in your script, or I can give you this.
Oh, we're talking about Jeffrey from Boston?
We are talking about Jeffrey from Boston.
Okie dokie. Yeah. This is actually a really good question, so let's just hop right into it. Mm-hmm. So Jeffrey writes to us, Hugh Everett's many worlds theory states the universe is branching into infinite possibilities based on decisions, and one would never know if they are in a new world, as it would always be considered quote-unquote normal. Max Tegmark presented a thought experiment whereby we are quote-unquote immortal, as we always are in a world whereby we survive events. My question, rather loaded with apologies, is although I find it fascinating that perhaps there is a dimensional slip or portal and ETs are from other worlds, could there possibly be some quantum mysticism at play here, akin to how spiritualism in the 19th century redefined technological mediums, such as the telegraph and photography, to re-enchant the supernatural?
You can take that one sentence at a time, Sev, if you want.
Okay, we'll start with the beginning, where thank you for the question very much, Jeffrey. It is a good one. So you start off talking about the many worlds theory and the quantum theories about the multiverses and quantum superposition, which means that two particles can in effect exist at the same time. And if that is the case, if two particles can exist at the same time, well, we're made of particles, so does that mean that we can exist in multiple places at the same time? If you extrapolate quantum theory from the micro to the macro, yeah, why not? And then there's also the observer's paradox, where the outcome of the experiment is directly reliant on the observer, and that an element or a particle just exists in this one particular state until it's observed, and then it exists in another state. So I think these are some of the things that you're talking about in the beginning of your question, Jeffrey. And then when we go on to a dimensional slip or a portal or ETs from other worlds, yes, we can go through dimensional slips, we can go through portal openings, coming in contact with beings in other universes. The ETs can also do the same thing and enter our world. And so the last part of your question, when you go into the spiritualism of the 19th century and as it was redefined through technological mediums, such as telegraph and photography, to me, when a lot of times that was fake. A lot of those photographs were fake, and so I might be misunderstanding your question, but those fake pictures and the fake sounds, are you saying that's what reinvigorated this quantum mysticism? Because I don't think that applies now. There is a quantum mysticism, absolutely, but it's based more on quantum theory as opposed to fake pictures and sounds. Did I understand the question or not?
Well, we don't know. Jeffrey's welcome to call in.
I think I see where he's going with it.
Okay.
I think essentially what he's saying is the science is being taken and turned into some sort of spiritual facet.
Okay.
Kind of like I see where he's going with it, and I initially was like, oh, I see what he's doing, and I kind of agree. And then I thought about it, and I was like, well, science has been mystified since it's been around, right? I mean, Pythagoras had a cult literally about numbers. And, like, that whole era was about, mysticizing science. And it still kind of is today, right? I mean, the fact that we literally have a device that is, in the palm of our hand that connects us to literally everything in the known world that we have, I think that in itself is mystical, right? And it's kind of hard to comprehend that this technology even exists. I think there's always an inherent mysticism around things that normal people don't understand. Anyway.
All right. Well, yeah. We have, it would not
that
be a
magical element.
Yeah, if you would like to respond further, Sev, go ahead.
No, I agree with what you just said, but I still view these times a little different than this 19th century time, because we know much more when it comes to quantum properties of particles. And so if that is going to be used in terms of enchantment and spiritual theory, then okay, then that's what it is. It's basically science explaining everything, whether it's ETs, or astral travel, no matter what it is, that science can explain it. So if science is mysticism, then so be it.
All right. Well, it would not be a legitimate show unless we had a question from our very faithful listener in Bogota, Colombia, Peter.
Oh.
So, Ben, take it away.
Righto. So Peter says to us, please ask Sev and Kathleen the same question I had for Nadine Lalich. What names do the various alien groups use for themselves? Greys, Nordics, etc. are usually human terms, not theirs. Nadine said they haven't expressed names to her, with the exception of one instance of a hybrid baby. What have you learned?
Was that for both of us, Kathy?
Yes, but you can begin unless you want me to.
Well, I personally don't really, for some reason, I just don't get hung up in the names. I haven't been given a lot of information about names, and I really don't go seeking much information about names. When I'm in contact with a being, I don't really even ask what their name is. I'm really concerned with how they feel, how they're making me feel, and what is this interaction, and what are they teaching me, what are we to learn from this. I don't really spend a lot of time on the different names of the different beings. One reason is because there's an infinite amount of beings, and what we know, the few that we know, is just the tip of the iceberg of all the names of the beings out there, or the races. Kathy?
And my answer to your question, Peter, is in terms of names, I do not know of one abductee who has been given a name of a particular non-human, except for not abductees, but from people who channel. It seems that the channelers, those who are having telepathic communication without being physically present, are receiving names and also star systems that these entities come from. But then, of course, we do not have any kind of confirmatory evidence that any of this is true. I've been studying communication with non-humans for the past 3 or 4 years, and so I've looked in great depth into this, dating back to 1954 and all the way up to the present. It appears that there is communication going on, but I have also been able to determine that these non-human entities who are simply communicating cannot be trusted. When they promise to do something or to appear in a certain location, they just don't follow through.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and also,
no, please.
Also, it's a very human thing to need a name. It could very well be that these beings are identified in a way that we don't understand, in a sound that we don't even know, in a color that we haven't even seen, in a feeling that we have never even experienced. So I think it's more a human thing to need a name. So with my clients, if a particular being comes through and my client needs a name, well, that being will make up a name for the client. It's mostly to make the client happy.
Well, historically, the development of names, proper names, particularly surnames, in our world resulted from the need for tax purposes and business.
Well, also the mystical aspect of knowing the name of something gave you power over it.
Yes. Well, hence that's what we were talking about. I was talking about with someone yesterday when it came to exorcisms. In the Roman ritual, the priest is supposed to ask, what is the name of the critter? And I always question that. How do you know it's telling the truth? And that's a different story. But names, I can see why people think names are important, because they are, to us. But that may not be the case with the others. So Kathy has an additional question, I believe.
Yes, I do. Your book that I'm going to ask about is titled, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. And I want to know, how can you communicate with other worldly beings, and what kind of messages have you received from them?
My book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, which you endorsed, Kathy, which meant the world to me. Thank you very much. I entitled it that because some people think that they don't have the right to talk to aliens, or they Just like we have the right to talk to our next door neighbor, we have every right to talk to an alien. And we don't have to wait for them to initiate contact. We can initiate contact ourselves. So the title is to imply that you have the power to talk to whoever you want to talk to in the entire galactic system. And then going back to the safeguards, because there are lower frequency beings out there, like when I came in contact with that Men in Black, the Astro Men in Black, which was connected to my friend who was visiting. So when we go to each other's homes, we're taking our beings with us. Our beings are going with us wherever we go. So you might have a really high frequency and not be bothered much by lower frequency human beings or otherworldly beings, but maybe there's someone in your home or around you that has lower frequency beings around them, and that's when they kind of poke at you, and that's when you have to stay strong. I do have on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit TV, a 3-part series that I've created on how to communicate with otherworldly beings. I explain to you what the communication is like, what some safeguards are, so you can have a very healthy and interesting communication, not a fearful one. And at the end, it's 3 parts, and at the end of each part, I guide you through a meditation. And I've had people from all over the world contact me and tell me about the incredible experiences that they're having using these videos and using these meditations where they're connecting with otherworldly beings. So that could be an extraterrestrial, or it could be another being. You might call it an angel. You might call it a loved one that is passed on. There's so many different types of beings. There's also just a collective consciousness, which is not a being, but it's like plugging into like a wealth of knowledge. And several people have contacted me after doing these meditations on my YouTube channel and have had experiences where some mysteries were resolved for them.
Okay, well, why don't we save that for the other side of the break? We're to take our mid-show break here. Okay. You're listening to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno, and our special guest co-host today, Kathleen Marden, on WOON 1240 AM and 99.5 FM in New England's beautiful Blackstone River Valley. We'll be right back.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
Local and live at 99.5 FM.
And welcome back to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno on WON Radio, AM and FM. And we're going to take it away with our guest, Sev Tok, and our special guest co-host, Kathleen Marden. Ben, it's your turn to jump in here.
So let's take a quick step back here. We've been saying a lot of interesting things, having some banter back and forth, but in any sort of conversation, one must define their terms. And if there's one thing that the paranormal studies in general, the whole genre of it, is a problem with language. And it is mostly that we use a lot of different terms for a lot of different things, and it's very hard to communicate. So let's just start with that. When we talk about frequency, what do we mean?
The vibration of energy. Okay.
And what is energy?
It is the release of some kind of particles.
All right.
Okay. So,
okay.
All right. And so, what is consciousness?
Yeah. So, I really haven't been able to find a definition that really pinpoints it. So what I say is consciousness is the awareness of all of you.
So this leads perfectly into my next question, which is, what is you?
Mm-hmm. What is me? Well, each of us is definitely energy. We are energy from a source. We all have different opinions about what that source is, what that source does, what powers that source has, if it has any powers at all. And so when I try and figure out what I am, I just think of myself as just a ball of energy having an infinite amount of experiences at the same time. And that as Sev, I'm just looking through a slice of my experience. I'm living and dying in other lives right now as we talk. I'm living on other planets and having different experiences and talking to ETs right now as I'm talking to you. So this is just a tiny, tiny aspect of me in my
we get
entirety.
that, yeah. Now, when you say, Ben, if you're done here, I'll
Oh, please.
Yeah. When you say astral, you use the term astral, what does that mean? In the sense of astral man in black you were talking about earlier. What do you mean by astral?
Yeah. I usually don't use the word astral. When I do use it, it's because I know that other people understand what that means, and it just means an interdimensional being. It means something that's beyond 3D.
Oh, all right. Okay, we get that. I think we're reaching a point of agreement here in the sense, and Kathy knows what I'm talking about, of we may be using different terms for the multiverse ideas, but I think we're in many ways talking about the same thing, which brings up the idea, and Kathy says this so well, and you have also mentioned it too in your books, I believe, is the notion of not trusting necessarily what you're talking to. So the question is, are ETs, which stands, of course, for extraterrestrials, are they necessarily from other planets as opposed to other parallel worlds, or both, or all of the above? I mean, what do you think?
Sev, what does Sev think?
Yes.
Yes, I think it's all of it. It's all of it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kathy?
I think that there's a good chance that it's all of it, because those who we believe are extraterrestrials have a scientific program. And those who are simply interdimensionals, either positive or negative, are not part of a scientific program. That's the way we at MUFON define it. And I think it's a good definition.
One of the questions that arise, too, are why are there so many different kinds of craft, if these are nuts and bolts craft in some cases? And there do seem to be certain trails of similar reports of beings, particularly grays, and then there's speculation about whether they may be biomechanical or what their purpose may be, and the Nordics, as was mentioned earlier. Do you feel, and we'll start with Sev on this, do you feel that there are many different civilizations working maybe at times at cross purposes, whether they be from other planets or from just parallel worlds or even other versions of ourselves? Do you think that there may be, they aren't necessarily working together, let alone for our own benefit? And a second part of that question is, do you think that the ancient stories that are everywhere of wars of the gods may have something to do with your answer to that question? I hope I'm making myself clear.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, Sev.
So to answer the second part, yes, the war of the gods, highly probable that it's just interaction with beings from other dimensions and other planets. And the first part of the question, oh my gosh, what was the first part of the question?
Well, essentially, are there many different kinds of, many different civilizations that are not necessarily working together? Right. Maybe at cross purposes, or don't even know about each other, or whatever. I mean, that's, is it a monolithic concept, that of ET, or is it many and varied when it comes to interaction with us?
Well, I can only express to you my personal experience. My personal experience is such that human beings are interacting with otherworldly beings. The information that was given to me was about the hybridization program that was given to me in Roswell and also in Baltimore. And I can say that that is a beneficial relationship. As far as reptilians or evil relationships or other ETs communicating with us to hurt us, that all of that I don't know about.
Okay. Kathy, any thoughts?
I agree with Sev on that. Of course, I've communicated with more than 2,000 experiencers, and my team at MUFON has communicated with many more and share information. The general accepted concept is that there are reptilians who are positive, yet there are also reptilians who are negative and might be interdimensional and perhaps not having a scientific program. So, to the best of my knowledge, that is my understanding of this.
Okay, Ben had a point.
So, I don't know why this has never really dawned on me until now. Why humans? In the grand scheme of things, right? We're a little blip in the multiverse, the galaxy, what have you, depending on your view of quantum physics and whatnot. In sort of the broad picture, we're basically a bunch of monkeys with tools, right? What makes us so special that ETs will go out of their way to give us messages about hybrid programs or try to save the Earth? There's a lot of different messages that are out there. So my question is two parts: why humans, and how do we know the information is accurate?
Seb, go ahead.
Okay. Why humans? Well, it's not just humans, it's other beings too, so why not humans? And the information that was given to me by the Greys was that the energy, we have energy that we exude as a human being, and we have energy that we exude as a planet. And this energy moves through the galactic system, and it affects other planets, it affects other beings. We're not just one all by ourselves, totally enclosed in this tiny little, this ball, and that we could just blow ourselves up or kill ourselves off and not have the other planets or the other beings or the rest of the galaxy feel that energy. That is what was explained to me. That's why.
Okay.
In hopes of changing our collective frequency to some people will call it better, although I really don't care for the word better, but to a higher frequency. Basically, just to become more loving, which is what our source is. We're just love to begin with, and as human beings, we've really, really forgotten that, and we've digressed.
All right. Kathy, if you have a thought there.
Yes. Well, my friend and co-author Stanton Friedman, I think, had a good point when he said, why not visit the primitives in the neighborhood, especially
I remember that. Yeah.
Especially those who are developing technology but are spiritually at a lower level. We present a problem if we go out in space and take our brand of friendship out there. So Stanton believed that they were here to quarantine us. I'm not so certain that they are here to quarantine us, but I do believe that they're very concerned about what we might take out to them. They have to be concerned about the kind of damage that we might do, but at the same time, if they're benevolent beings, they should want to guide us and to move us along on an evolutionary scale to see that we do survive.
Well, I always agreed with him on that, but I also asked the question, why should they treat us as equals? That's always kind of bothered me. I mean, there's no reason why not, I suppose, from our point of view, but, do we communicate with ants? I don't know. It's just a thought. Ben, you had a...
So, with all that being said, over the last sort of 50, 60, 70 years of UFO research, a lot has changed, not just from the experiences of experiencers, but also the type of craft we've seen. And if that's the case, is all of this that you both just said, is that why spirituality has entered ufology?
Because of the crafts?
No. What I'm saying is everything that you guys just said.
Yes. Yeah. There's a blur. There's a bleeding between the lines of ufology and spirituality and religion. And in fact, I started a blog called the Light Age blog, talking about the blur of the lines between all of them. What do you think, Kathy?
Well, the social research projects that I have worked on, and also the academic studies that have been done on experiencers, indicate that we become more spiritual when we have these experiences, these UFO abductions, if you want to call it that. So it does appear that they are motivated to cause us to become more spiritual. I don't know the process that is used, but I can tell you that that experiencers have many of the same characteristics, almost all of the same characteristics that near-death experiencers have.
What do we mean by spiritual?
Sev? Or
do you
Kathy?
Want to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
Okay. What I mean by that is that we have a different view of ourselves, that we tend to look inside rather than outside with our expression. We're more reverent, we're more respectful, and as Sev said, you kind of vibrate at a higher level where you have a more positive outlook.
One of the things
Yes.
I happen to agree with... Oh, I'm sorry, Seb. Did you want to respond?
Well, I would just want to say I agree with that, and my definition of spirituality is pretty much the same definition that I have for expanding your consciousness. Spirituality is just the understanding of the parts of you that exist beyond 3D.
Well, I sometimes take a divergent view, shocker, that I tend to agree with the Buddhists more that the goal of spirituality is to annihilate the self. Because the multiverse is full of paradoxes, and I'm not going to preach here, it's all in my books, but the idea is that when you accept yourself, you find yourself by forgetting yourself. That's how you discover your real self, which is the other person, which is really the message of the multiverse spiritually, in my humble opinion, and that we are each other. I mean, that's even present in the Gospel of Matthew. Love your neighbor as yourself. In English, it comes across, in our ferociously selfish world as love your neighbor because the way you love yourself. What it says in Greek is love your neighbor because he is yourself. Quite different. So the Eastern point of it. But anyway, that's, I suppose, neither here nor there. I did want to ask, well, first of all, we're running out of time, so Seb, I want to give you a chance right now before we finish up to talk about your website, your work, your books, where people can find out more.
Oh, thank you. I am very much enjoying the work that I do with experiencers around the world. When I was a speaker at AlienCon in Baltimore in 2018, I learned that there are a lot of people who want to come out and tell someone about their experiences, like what Kathy provided for me. And so people are coming out to me, and they can come out through my website. I have a private portal there where you can tell me about your ET experience, and I will write back to you. I'll contact you, and we'll go back and forth as much as you need to, so I can help you process this and understand that this did not happen by accident, and that there's very, very good reason you had ET contact, and it's for your benefit. So let's figure out what that benefit is.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because people come to us. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're not really competent to deal with that sort of thing, at least on that level. So thank you for pointing that out. I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Did you have something more to add?
Just a couple more things. Also on my website, which is planetsev.com, I share some of the stories that experiencers have shared with me along with pictures, but it's all without divulging their names. I think it's very important to come out. If you don't want to come out to others, then maybe anonymously share your story, because it really does help others to come out. And this is something, as an experiencer, it is so harmful for your life, for your psyche, for your reality to hide this. This is your reality. There is nothing to be ashamed of. It is real. It's happening to you. And so it's important that you acknowledge it so that you can move through it, and then it doesn't sit inside of you as a negative energy that festers, and it really does mess you up. That's really why I want to help experiencers, so they can turn that fear and that negativity that they have regarding their experience into, oh, I see, this was to help me. This is what I can learn about it to make a better life for myself, and then make a better life for my friends and family and for the earth. And I also have a newsletter, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so I'm easy to find.
Okay.
And just a quick little fun little story. I have a planet and a star system named after me in the Star Wars galactic system. It's the planet and star system Sev Tok.
Oh, I thought, yes, I'd heard that before.
That's pretty cool, actually.
It is very cool, yeah. One of the things that bothers me a little, Sev, I have to admit, is the idea that if you're saying that all ET contact is positive, we often find that sometimes it's not, because you've got what we refer to them as parasites. Folklore calls them demons, who are kind of part of nature's mimics. They'll pretend to be Uncle Steve haunting your house, or whatever they have to do to eat. And that includes pretending to be ET sometimes and giving you bad information and all this sort of thing. As Kathy suggested, you can't always trust them.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that well, go ahead and comment on that, Sev.
Okay, so just like I was describing about that Astro Men in Black who came to me, and that was not a pleasant experience. But what I learned from that was something very beneficial and powerful for myself. So you can have a scary experience, but then again, we have to determine, why is it scary for you? Is it scary because you're wearing the lens of victimization, as I was? And maybe we need to take those lenses of victimization off, and maybe you'll see your reality in a completely different way. That's a possibility. Or it can truly be that you came in contact with a really negative being and it scared the hell out of you. So let's now use that to figure out how you can raise your frequency. This is a sign for you to do some work on yourself to raise your frequency, so that, because you're not just aligning with scary otherworldly beings, you're also aligning with scary people if you have a lower frequency. So there's a lot of positive work that can come out of these experiences.
Okay, very good. Well, Sev, we're going to kind of end it here, because we have a pile of announcements, and thank you for being with us, and thank you for your insights, and we'll be in touch off the air. And you can hang out on Skype for the rest of the show, but we're going to move on to our announcements.
Blather on.
Yes.
It'll be great.
So, Ben,
Thank you.
You may blather as you wish.
Yes, and the blathering will begin now. As we've announced on recent shows, the 2020 Exeter UFO Festival on Labor Day weekend has been canceled, unfortunately, but the 55th anniversary of the incident at Exeter will not go unsung on this show. On September 6th, the day we would have broadcast from the historic Exeter Town Hall with a panel of speakers, including Kathleen Marden, for the 5th year in a row. Instead, we will do a rebroadcast of last year's panel show from there. And on the panel, along with Kathy, were Peter Robbins, Mac Maloney, Mike Stevens, the Allagash UFO abductees, and many other luminaries in the UFO field.
The following week, September 13th, we'll bring you a very special guest, retired FBI agent Clinton Rand, who, as a Hampton, New Hampshire police sergeant in September 1965, was on duty at the police department desk during the incident in Exeter, which involved UFO encounters by several of his officers. On the day after what would have been the Exeter UFO Festival, September 7th, that's Labor Day in the U.S., Ben and I will be on the Travel Channel as part of a debut of The Devil's Road, the true story of Ed and Lorraine Warren. That's the first in a new series of 2-hour documentaries, America's True Horror Stories. Anyway, I'm in it as someone who worked with the Warrens, and Ben is there to represent the new generation of researchers. That'll be on the Travel Channel, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday, September 7th, 2020.
And we all have high hopes that we can be back at the Greater New England UFO Conference in Leominster, Massachusetts, on Columbus Day weekend. My dad is scheduled to be the keynote speaker to mark his 50-year work anniversary in paranormal research. If I had a crowd cheering little thing I could click here, I'd do that. But you can picture it in your mind.
Not necessary. Yes.
And there are plans for an online conference if that can't be held at the usual physical venue.
Now, we do have final word on the, but we only just got it, so I can't really, we'll put it online. There are plans, of course, to proceed with the Western Connecticut UFO Conference in October, and that'll be a virtual event that traditionally takes place at the Danbury, Connecticut Public Library. We will keep you posted on that. And again, check our website, behindtheparanormal.com, for the info. Additionally, we have word that the New England Parafest will take place on April 10th and 11th, 2021 in Kittery, Maine, and that will be on the hoof. So far, we don't think it's going to be virtual. Anyway, there will be a live broadcast of this show with a panel of the speakers on Sunday the 11th. More information will be forthcoming. Kathy, what's going on with you?
Well, 2021 marks the 60th anniversary of the UFO abduction of my aunt and uncle, Betty and Barney Hill. And in the 13 years since my first book, Captured, the Betty and Barney Hill UFO Experience, was published, I've been seeking the evaluation of additional scientific evidence pertaining to their case. And I'm excited to report that in 2021, my updated book by the same title will be published with all the new scientific research, reports, and data.
Oh, that is amazing. That's great. We were honored that you're announcing that on the show.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. Good.
All right. So on that note, check out our book along with those of our co-hosts, especially the one just mentioned. You can check out our website. That's behindtheparanormal.com, or where you can find out more about the show, our many cases over the years, our public appearances, and how to book us, along with our 850 free recorded shows from our 12-plus years on the air. That's including our 4.5-year run on CBS Radio, along with special shows and podcasts, and past shows back to late 2009 are also available on major podcast platforms, including YouTube, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, the Paranormal Radio app, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere else. So as soon we will plan to have all the shows back to 2008 uploaded to all of those wonderful platforms.
There are links to several charities we've adopted on the show at behindtheparanormal.com. That includes USA Cares, Canadian Veterans Advocacy, Helping Haiti's Orphans, Youth Mentoring Connection in Los Angeles. Tony Loray doing great work out there with at-risk youth. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America, and the Sisterhood of Ground Zero, along with the Milk Fund here in northern Rhode Island. Now, we have to say that these charities are severely vetted by us very, very carefully, and we know the people who run them. So when you assist them, the money goes where it's supposed to go, and not just for office staff, that sort of thing. So, Ben, what do we have going on for next week?
So next week, August 23rd, wow, we are just flying through August. We will bring you an open line show with special guest co-host Shane Searway to answer listener questions on many different paranormal subjects. And I know that we have piles and piles and piles of emails and questions and all sorts of stuff.
I know.
We've got to make our way through.
I've lamented ever, catching up, but nevertheless, please send your questions to Paul at behindtheparanormal.com, and we will get to them as soon as we can, or call in to the show. So now we have a few minutes left. So Sev, please give us your website one more time and any final thoughts you might have.
Okay, thank you. PlanetSev.com, And my book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, is on Amazon. And my final word really is something I'm very passionate about, which is to be your authentic self. I'm on a path of authenticity. Really, when you give yourself the permission to be the real you, the true you, that's when you are the happiest.
Great. Kathy, you have our closing quote today.
Yes, I do. And today I'm quoting Booker T. Washington. He said, "I have learned that success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he has overcome while trying to succeed. And those who are happiest are those who do the most for others."
There you go. That's it for today, friends. I'm Paul Eno.
And I'm Ben Eno.
And I'm Kathleen Marden. Thanks for joining us on our great cosmic journey. And we'll see you next time on Behind the Paranormal.
Return to this radio frequency 167 hours from now for another edition of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.